Hello and welcome on this pleasant evening, everyone. It's great having you all here, eagerly awaiting the awareness session for MADHACK. So without much ado, let's get right to it. Have you ever heard of Alan Turing? Probably the first person to ever solve an enigma with computer science. An enigma that even the greatest of mathematicians scratched their head on. The guy was a genius. But was he gifted? I would beg to differ. Alan Turing sculpted himself, a person who went through rigorous amounts of practice, trial, and error to get to the place where he could finally break the cipher. Much like the potential participants of the MADHACK here today. He was too much of a genius that, funnily enough, he safely hid his treasures in a code which even he couldn't break. We hope you guys don't make that mistake. We are the IEEE student branch of University of Colombo School of Computing, and we take pride in presenting to you, once again, better than ever, MADHACK 2.0, the Mobile Application Development Hackathon. And so now it's time to hear from our own chairperson, Mr. Akila Maithripala. Over to you, Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mali. Hope I'm audible. I'm having a power cut right now.
Hello. Yes, you're audible. All good.
Oh, right. So, good evening, dear lecturers, and our guest speaker for the evening, Mr. Prasan Yapa, and all my brothers and sisters present here. So, it's my pleasure as the chairperson of IEEE student branch of UCSC to welcome you all to the awareness session of the Mobile Application Development Hackathon. That's MADHACK. MADHACK was started in 2021 as the flagship hackathon of IEEE UCSC to empower the undergraduates around Sri Lanka to get into mobile development from early stages of their university life. So before MADHACK, there was Game Rush, which was the game development hackathon that gave participants a unique experience by introducing them to the vast world of game developing. So when we sat down to discuss what we are going to do this year, that if we are going to start novel hackathon like we have done before, or continue in the mobile domain, we found ourselves wondering if the mobile labs in Sri Lanka are really up to the standards. So, there was a prime example in the poor planning of fuel pass app, and we hear many people complain about the slowness of mobile service providers apps. It takes ages to put a reload, and app freezes many errors. So they are still there. So it's you who are present here today who will compete in MADHACK, that one day will join these organizations, not only Sri Lanka, but around the world, and create great apps for people to use. So we thought, no, we are continuing MADHACK for the second time. And once again, we will educate you and give yourself a chance to tackle problems in mobile developing, not just project ideas and nice UIs, but how to see a problem and how to solve it in a mobile first way. So today, after the insightful session from our distinguished guest, Mr. Prasan Yapa, we will start the registration, and I request you all to spread the word, form a team and register yourself, and maybe you will walk out with the prize money at the end of next month. So concluding my speech, I want to thank our director, Dr. Ajanta Korale, for the guidance, and our student branch counselor, Mr. Gihan Seniviratna, who since a long time been our mentor for the student branch and to UCSC IEEE as a whole. Then I indeed want to thank my team who are working really hard, so enthusiastically to bring the best possible experience to you. And I'm proud of you. Last but not least, thank you everyone present here today to witness this moment. And I welcome you all with my hand. Over to you, Mali.
Thank you, Akila, for kickstarting our session with all the enthusiasm that should characterize it. And for, of course, letting us know of the rich history of MADHACK. Just as intriguing as the name is, MADHACK has its own share of awe-inspiring value. As hackathons go, mobile application development is not commonplace. And hosting the very first mobile application development hackathon in Sri Lanka is a renown that IEEE student branch of UCSC alone holds. And so we take pride in launching this event through an awareness session. Stay tuned. We've got a bunch of anecdotes to share and a quizzes session. Don't know what that is? Well, stick around long enough to see. The one lucky winner in the quizzes session would get a cool t-shirt, a very cool t-shirt from us as a compliment and as a reward. In this new age and day, our lives are so much more dependent on our smartphones than we are to any other materialistic possession out there in the world. To say our lives are molded around our mobiles is hardly an exaggeration. Developing compelling content for mobile applications is the requirement of the modern day. And hence, if you've got what it takes to be a programmer who develops apps for smartphones, then this is your opportunity to showcase your ability and to go on a Mexican-style standoff with other programmers, confronting with UI and UX, and battling with codes. From MADHACK, no one walks unscathed. Let's get back to the basics once again and try to answer one question. What is MADHACK? MADHACK is an inter-university mobile application development hackathon, hence the clever acronym MADHACK. A hackathon for all undergraduates in all higher education institutes in Sri Lanka. And the MADHACK is planned to be executed under two phases following this. Number one, the workshop phase, with 2 workshop sessions aimed at educating the teams on the hackathon, providing a valuable learning experience for the members in preparing them for the finals. And the first workshop will be conducted virtually on the topic Android native development. The second physical workshop will cover the topics Flutter, React Native, low code, and deployment. And ultimately, number 2, the competition phase will unfold on the final day. Competitions will take place initially with a 6-hour hackathon, a virtual hackathon, out of which the 10 selected finalist teams will confront each other with a 24-hour hackathon and pitching to be conducted physically. With that, let's now take a closer look at the timeline. On February the 3rd, which is today, we are launching this event with an awareness session. Following this, on the 11th of February, the first virtual workshop will take place, preceding which on the 18th of February, the second physical workshop will take place, along with which registrations for all the teams will be opened. And then on the 25th of February, the initial virtual 6-hour hackathon will take place, out of which the finalists will be selected and announced. These finalists will then go on to confront each other on a 24-hour final round of hackathon, which will begin on the 4th of March and then end on the 5th of March, which day our awarding ceremony will take place. Anticipate a guest speaker in just a moment. Before that, if you have any questions to be clarified from that speaker or us, you can direct them through the link provided in the chat right now. Take a look at the chat, and if you've got any questions, please do post them in that link. For some further insight on this big venture of ours, we would like to call upon our guest speaker, Mr. Prasan Yapa, a PhD candidate, the tech lead at JabRef, an independent researcher, the data analytics expert, an IEEE award winner, and over and above all, a lecturer. The spotlight is yours now, sir.
Right. Thank you, Mira. All right. So thank you very much for the brief introduction, and thank you very much for the brief introduction to the this great event. And thank you very much for welcoming me on board. And today I thought of sharing some of the things with you with regards to the mobile technology application development and how it would be important to the economic growth of the country. And I wish you all the very best to the participants as well as the IEEE student branch of UCSC, who is really the back end of this entire event. And I wish you guys a great success. And I really hope that the products and the services and also maybe startups that would be upcoming through this event would greatly empower Sri Lankan economic in near future. So let's go ahead And so I think Meera gave a brief introduction on me, and let me introduce you regarding the field of hackathon. And so I was kind of one of the active members at University of Moratuwa around 2010 to 2014. That was my bachelor's time period. And in that time period, I was kind of engaged in different hackathons. So starting from the Colombo hackathon, I think that was the very first hackathon organized by Sri Lanka in Shenzhen, and the evangelist of the Sri Lankan Angels Association, who are the venture capitalists in Sri Lanka startup organizations, as well as under the SLASCOM. And then starting from that, I contributed to several hackathons during my bachelor's period of time. And some of them actually went up to the award-winning stages as well. But actually, one of these startups came through the MIT Global Startup Labs around 2012. It was one of the major success stories in my life. And then I joined with the industry, and now at the moment, currently I'm working in my PhD studies in Japan. So that's brief introduction into the hackathon that I've been participating during my bachelor's period of time. And it is really great to see there are more than 100 undergraduates still going to take place on this hackathon. And I guess this is not 24-hour hackathon. This would be a kind of a continuous event. At least I think there's a major timeline with some of the significant milestones. So I really wish you all the best in the upcoming milestones. And of course, I'm really want to congratulate in terms of ending up with your own startups one day. So regarding the mobile apps development now, this is the major focus on your overall event, the mobile application development. So when it comes to the mobile app market during to the forecasting 5 years from today, I mean, at least this have been predicted from 2021 to 2025. Still, you can see there's an accelerated market growth. So this is not only for considering the Europe or Asia Pacific or even North American regions, but at least the entire globe has been considered for this upcoming incredible growth acceleration rate towards the mobile apps market, regardless of the mobile app vendors or mobile vendors. And especially, even though COVID-19 has been considered as one of the drawbacks in most of the what you call the stages in our lives, as well as most of the most precious things in the development field, economic field, or whatsoever. But still, now this has been considered as one of the positive impacts towards mobile application industry, because so many people and so many industries, so many lifestyles have been changed into a level that in terms of level of mobility. So because of that, even though COVID-19 has been considered as one of the drawbacks for major industries, major aspects in the economic aspects in this world, but still there are some silver waves behind the negative impact during the past 2 to 3 years. But still, I would rather recommend this should be one of the giant impact when we closer look at the timeline of the upcoming 5 to 10 years until 2030. And when it comes to the mobile app market in terms of the most mobile vendors, so when it comes for the most mobile app vendors, the market, it would be, I mean, different stages, different vendors can be seen in terms of the market share, in terms of the uh, applications that have been already implemented, and also the apps wise, as well as the devices wise, as well as the type of the devices, as well as the OS. So this can be differentiated, but yet three vendors can be identified as one of the, the top vendors in this market, which has been evolved since decades so far. So Apple, Android, and Windows, and they are of course into this business from last 3 decades, I would say. And so if you are going ahead with mobile app development, I would rather recommend you to go ahead with targeting these three vendors. At least, first of all, maybe if you are now, most of the mobile application industry which have been evolved in terms of the cross-platform developments, I think a majority of you might be using the cross-platform development devices for this, or cross-platform technologies for this, which would be the ideal. But if you are targeting iOS or Android or Windows, that is truly fine for this stage. But when you are going ahead with your future enhancements, I would rather recommend you to consider these three platforms, because these three would be the market giants until 2030. And when it comes for the usage wise, in terms of the mobile apps, so these are some of the stats which have been collected during the usage in the past 5 to 10 years, and you can see still the hype would be towards the mobile apps, as long as it is a handheld device. Now people have been moved from web to mobile, and of course that is the value which have been generated for most of the users when it comes for different things, not only the economic related things, but also in your household requirements. Still, rather than using your so-called website or web app, the mobile handheld device would be a very user-friendly at this stage. And so when it comes for handheld device development apps, just I would like to recommend one thing in your developments. Just try to limit the number of tabs. That would be boost up the user experience in much great scale, because most people would like to achieve their what you call anything that have been used these type of devices within minimum number of tabs. So please make sure that whatever the application that you are going to develop from this hackathon, or maybe in your future, try to come up with the most user-friendly way rather than most technological way. So because that's the major reason why still Apple would be considered as the high market shareable vendor when it comes for the most mobile apps, because of their user friendliness. The UI would does some great things rather than the technology, of course. And of course, some of the giants in the technological stack. And so these are some of the most of these are cross-platform technologies in terms of the stack. But when it comes for the some of the mobile applications in terms of the full stack hierarchy, so there are two main types. One is the mean stack and the MERN stack. So I would rather recommend you to focus on the MERN stack or the mean stack, or at least maybe one of those, and try to master yourself. And of course, regarding the startups, so startup means, this, of course you have to come up with your product first. And if your product would be considered as one of the products that could change human life in a drastic manner, of course such products can be simply converted into a startup. That is the pure foundation for any startup that you wish to take place. And when you check the startup hierarchy in terms of the industrial wise, most of the startups, I mean, you can see the stats, and the software industry takes place the highest market share in terms of the startups. And considering all the other avenues, marketing, sales, hardware, e-commerce, transportation, energy, still software and data would be taking the highest share. So still, I would say still for the upcoming 5 to 10 years, still this would be for the software industry that would be the origin for the most of the startups. And when it comes to the Sri Lankan startup ecosystem, and there's a clear-cut defined ecosystem since 2018, because even before that there was a hierarchy for this startup genomes, but this has been regenerated through some of the steps which have been taken from the ICTA, and now it has been aligned with some of the global avenues that have been originated, especially in the Asia Pacific region. And still, this make more startups for sure in the next 5 to 10 years, especially in the field of software and data. If everything goes well, if your collaboration is there, and if the collaboration is there to build up the ecosystem in the almost the Asia Pacific region. So there are some of the successful stories, not only the theory that I have been sharing, but there are, of course, the people who have succeeded in these startups and who are really dedicated to the economy of their country, especially from, there are different examples from Sri Lanka. This is the very famous example that I can take. The startup started with the name of Basha, and they have started with Helakuru. And the co-founder of Basha, he was been with me, not in my batch, but he was one of my parallel undergrads back in University of Morutu at that time, and now he's doing some great things in the industry and in the industrial market in Sri Lanka. And really happy to see how Basha has been evolved from Helakuru to until Pay Here, which is the latest app. And of course, these are only just one of the startup examples from Sri Lanka, which is really doing well at this level. And where I am living at the moment in Japan, of course, Japan is really famous for the industrial innovations. And of course, now in recent times, they have been evolved with some of this type of mobile applications. One of the companies that I recently had some meetings on this would be Prodigy, and they have been inventing different apps in virtual reality, augmented reality, and there are some more which have been coming up in the 5 to 10 years in the history of Prodigy. So this is one of the startups which have been really evolving in here. So these are some of the startup examples that I took from Sri Lanka as well as outside Sri Lanka, which are really contributing to the economy. So when it comes to the economical growth for any country, it is really aligned with the number of companies that would origin from that country itself. So if the number of companies are going up, if the number of startups are going up, of course, the number of revenue which is going to be generated within the country itself will be going up eventually. So it should be your duty So in terms of coming up with one particular app, which maybe one would be the changing point of your entire life one day. So so there are some tips and tricks for any app development and converting your app into a startup level. So your idea should be the main thing behind the scene. So as I told you earlier, just come up with one simple example, one simple idea that would change human life drastically. So because the countries who are going down in a kind of alleviated manner are the same countries who have been quickly developed in the history. So if you can change the history of entire Sri Lanka, just come up with an idea so that you can do marvelous things, and of course you can get our country back to the same acceleration rate. So that's about it, and best of luck for you, everybody. And so I congratulate everyone again, and thank you very much, the team organizing committee at IEEE branch in UCSA. So I really appreciate these type of activities which are really happening still back in my country. And thank you very much for your time.
Indeed, thank you so much, sir. A wonderful presentation from our guest speaker, Mr. Yapa, on the role of mobile technology in economic growth. Indeed, a very convincing topic and a convincing depiction of the status quo. Thank you again, sir, for spreading your wisdom upon us, and thank you for having some time for us out of your valuable time. And now it's time for the audience to come up with your questions for which our speaker would gracefully attend. Thank you, sir, in advance. Use the link provided to you to put your questions to which you are seeking the answer from the speaker or from us. Okay, with that, let's go on with the first question we've got here. Sir, we would like to know why people tend to not learn such new languages. So can you give me the answer for that, sir?
So, of course, now, if you consider the time in between 20 to 2015, I would say, that is the time I would still consider as one of the, I would say, technological and more advancement period when it comes for the mobile app development. And in there, most of the top level application tiers as well as technologies actually came into the market. And from 2015 to 2020, so in that period, of course, those languages and those technology stack have been used in terms of for generating the various types of mobile applications in different industries rather than focusing on the technological stack. So when you compare the revenue which has been generated from 2010 to 2014 and 2014 to 2020, there's a drastic difference in between these two 5-year timeline. Because during the technological advancement period, 2010 to 2015, still people were kind of struggling with, and people were really busy with behind the scene of the technology stack rather than considering the human demand. And then once they realize that they are deviating from the human demand and going after the technological stack, then they came back to the topic of what should be the human demand, not the technology behind the scene. So that's how people ended up in coming back to the same topic, what would be the demand that we need to fulfill rather than going after the technological stack again and again and again, because technology is there. You cannot, of course, reject in terms of updating yourself in from different technology stack to another technology stack or whatsoever. But again, I would rather recommend you to have your basics to the correct level. So basics in the sense, now in what technology stack you consider, still the basics would be the same. The basic object orientation would be the same. The basic, what do you call, the guidelines, the state of the art things would be the same for any stack. So just master your principles or the basics very well, and then just learn, just use your basic in terms of fulfilling customer or the ordinary people's demand. That should be your goal in terms of you need really to come up with your own product one day and your own startup one day.
So we've got another question from one of our audience, sir. It is, what are the prerequisites to learn mobile app development? Can you give an answer to that question?
Yeah, of course, the prerequisites for most of the state of the arts in today. So there are two main stacks, as I explained you earlier. One is the MERN stack, and the other thing is mean stack. So MERN stack or the mean stack. Actually, those two stacks, technological stacks, would be fulfilling the most of the mobile app technological stacks in this level at this era. So either you can go ahead with the MERN stack or else mean stack, whatsoever. So if you are going ahead with the MERN stack, you will be go ahead with the more or less the React-based technologies. If you are going ahead with mean stack, you will be more or less move towards the Angular stack level. And those two, I mean, of course, those will be fulfilling your, what do you call, the cross-platform and cross-platform mobile app development demand as well. You can fulfill rather than just now if you are going with only maybe something like for mobile app for iOS or maybe for Android, if you are going with their own native developments, of course you could be ended up in an application only towards particular one vendor. So there are typical pros and cons in both approaches. One issue might be the security problems. When you are going ahead with some cross-platform technological stacks, this type of privacy issues can happen. But considering the most issues that faced during more than 5 years ago, now most of them have resolved in either MERN stack or mean stack. So I highly recommend you to go ahead with one of these stacks so that you can fulfill cross-platform development by following either one of these two technological stacks.
Thank you, sir. And before we wind up the QA session, we have two more questions that we want you to answer, sir. And the first one is, which is better, native mobile development or hybrid mobile application development?
Yeah, that's a very controversial question, I would say, and this question is in the market all the time since maybe back in 1990s as well. But that is again, I mean, there is no such, what you call, a rule of thumb for this approach. So it is purely based on your preference, I would say, and there are pros and cons in both, either in native type or cross-platform. So as I already described you, whether if you are going with those technological stacks that are available in hybrid mode or the pure stack in native mode. So either have pros and cons. So, and if you consider the successful stories that I shared with you, especially the apps especially in Bhasha as well as in Prodigy. So they have cross-platform applications, and also they have native type application as well. So when it comes for now at this level, in this type of hackathon type of level, I would rather advise you to go ahead with a cross-platform approach, because at this level you don't know what your target market would be look like, whether it is Android or iOS or whatever. But once you have set up your customer base, and once you know your customer base really well after some time, then you can decide whether you're following with the native approach or else in the cross-platform approach. So this time, I think it is too early for you in terms of deciding what to follow. So at this level, you have to clearly understand what is your idea and what is the problem that you are going to solve, and how that problem is critical to the human life at this level. I guess that is what you need to clearly understand in this, identify this level, rather than jumping into the technology stack now.
Okay, sir, thank you for that answer. And we've got another question to ask, sir. What is your opinion on the future of mobile apps with PWA tech maturity?
The latter part, I missed the latter part, Mira. Sorry again.
Yeah, so yeah, what is your opinion on the future of mobile apps with PWA tech maturity?
Right. So the future of the mobile apps. So according to the stats I already shared with you, that the stats can demonstrate anything, of course. I mean, no one predicted what would happen in 2019 to 2022, 3 years back in 2010, right? So we never know what will happen in future. At least we never know what will happen in tomorrow. But still, so when it comes for the mobile app development, yes, still there is a room to develop. I would say it has not reached to the pinnacle level. It has not reached to the top level, top tier. Still, there are some major improvements can be done. It's not like web apps. In web applications also is still not in the peak level, I would say, but more than the web apps. For mobile apps, still there are some major improvements. So one best example would be the ChatGPT. Just consider the impact that has been created by the ChatGPT. Now, still it has not been introduced to the market as a mobile app. So just consider if this is going to be a mobile app or an integration one day in along with other mobile apps. Just imagine how that can change the human life, right? So likewise, again, it's pretty early to predict anything. So what I can say right now, still there are some major enhancements which to be there in the market in the upcoming. And if you check the most of the forums that are there, especially which have been published more recently in the technological stacks, in the MERNs and means. So in there you can find out what are the directions they are actually researching on. So towards that, so ChatGPT also one of their directions they have clearly mentioned back in around 2020, 3 years ago. So likewise, you can predict certain things, but so at this level, what I can surely say is that still it's not in the peak level. So maybe it can go up to the pinnacle level in a more accelerated manner, or maybe the other way, right?
Thank you, sir. So thank you, sir, for taking your time to answer these questions, and we hope it quenched the curiosity of our audience. In this moment, sir, we would love to present our valued speaker a token of our heartfelt appreciation. Indeed, it's an honor to have Shah the presence with you, sir, and we are very much obliged. Please accept this virtual token from us, the IEEE student branch of UCSC.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. And with that, we have almost reached the end of this session. We hope you enjoyed our little presentation. We hope we were able to put you in that enthusiastic position that we wanted you to be in. Our goal is to provide a platform to give form to your own magnum opera in mobile development. So register at your earliest to the coming workshop. This virtual workshop will be on the topic Android native. You can register using the given link. The link has been put in the chat box as well. Make use of that and register at your earliest. Make sure that you attend this virtual workshop full of informative and knowledgeable things that will aid you in winning the title of this hackathon. With that, our goal here, as I said, is to provide a platform for you guys to give form to your craziest of ideas. If you think you are the best, wait till you meet your match. And that's very soon. This mad hack is to track down the best amongst the best. Thank you guys for joining. It has been a wonderful experience presenting this wonderful presentation provided by our OC, our organizing committee of the Mad Hack. And signing up from you is Hanafi Mira. Thank you guys for being such a responsive audience. And from you guys, we expect your valuable feedback. It has been such a wonderful experience for me personally to have hosted this presentation. And I must personally thank everyone in the OC and everyone who has mentored us along the way to forming this awareness session. Hope we were able to give you at least a part of the enthusiasm that we were expecting to give you. Thank you for making this a success. Without you guys, this wouldn't have been possible. Thank you guys for joining. Please do leave your feedback in the link provided in the chat.